Oh, that was brutal, man. You can't go losing to the Jets. How many points do they have to climb back to get in the playoffs?
No, they're still in a playoff spot.
What?
The Leafs, even though they lost last night, they're still in a playoff position.
It's February, the Leafs just lost, and they're still in a playoff spot?
That's what I just said. 7th, yeah.
I still don't get it.
And then,
Yes, please do!
what a great goal.
Dude! Crazy throwing waffles. Who are you?
Optimus Prime.
Leafs lose 2-1 to the Winnipeg Jets. And remember a couple videos ago when the Leafs killed the Senators 5-0 and I was like, well, take this with a grain of salt because the Sens played the night before and they looked exhausted. Well, now on the other side of that, the Jets aren't nearly as bad as a lot of people say they are, but they're not really good enough to hold the Leafs to 18 shots, which they did. So if you were one of those people that were like, that's not an excuse, Ottawa. Can't say it's an excuse for the Leafs now, can you? I'd say it's an excuse for both. I'd explain why, but I've done that God knows how many times over the last 2 seasons. Well, they're pro athletes, but they're playing against... yeah, we know, Steve, shut up. Things start well, though. Lupul gives Kessel the long feed. He works his magic in the offensive zone. Just a simple wrister gets his 30th of the season. Kessel just the second NHL player after the ridiculous season that Steven Stamkos is having to hit 30 goals. Gem of a stat by Jeffler on his Tumblr page. Check that out, jeffler.com. In 08-09, it took him 64 games. Oddly enough, the next season, 09-10, 64 games again. Last season almost took him the whole campaign, but after 79 games, he hit 30 goals. This season, 30 goals in just 54 games. That puts him on pace to hit 45 goals this season, so he should at very least hit 40. It'd be tough, but he's within shooting distance of 50 as well. So there's your SteveDangle.com poll. How many goals do you think Phil Kessel is going to end this season with? And I'll leave you a few options. And then, and this just makes it easier to quickly go over them, I guess, the Leafs let in 2 similar looking goals. Schenn just flat out gets beat by Chris Thorburn, who works his way in and beats Gustafsson. Schenn getting beat with speed, and with his stick he was just kind of Also didn't look like an overly hard save for Gustafsson to make. Then in the second period, Blake Wheeler doing basically the same thing around Franzen, and he just kind of just looking pretty listless. Lombardi can't backcheck quickly enough to get to Little, and Little puts it in. That's the game. The last 5-10 minutes of the third were just sad. The Leafs should be applying pressure, but the Jets are just making them run around their own zone pretty much. Like I said earlier in the video, saying that they played the night before with travel isn't exactly an excuse. I mean, everyone has to deal with it, but the Leafs looked gassed. And now that the game's over, I want to deal with a couple things. Leafs fans that really annoyed me, and Jets fans that really annoyed me. Now, what some Leafs fans said that was kind of annoying me, man, the Leafs can't go dropping games to the Jets. That's just the team you gotta beat. Well, they shut them out in the game before, and if I'm not mistaken, they split the season series. Also, if you watched the last half of the season from the Leafs last season, January, February, March, early April, you know that sometimes the crappier team in the standings will beat better teams in the standings. And lastly, point percentage wise, the New York Rangers are on pace to be the best team in the NHL this season, or rather win the President's Trophy. They're still on pace for 21 regulation losses and 8 overtime or shootout losses. So in an 82 game season, the best team in the entire league will still lose 30 games. So forget the Jets. I hate when anyone says that about anyone. Teams lose to teams on occasion. Now, there are some teams where you go, yeah, but we really shouldn't be losing to these guys, and I sort of understand that. I wouldn't put the Jets in that category, though. We saw in the last game against the Oilers that they're not even in that category because on any given night, they can put on a crazy performance. Really, the only team that you can legitimately be like, you can't lose to them is the Columbus Blue Jackets, and that's because they're 11 points behind being the second worst team. By the way, that's going to be a fun trade deadline for them, eh? Hey, we're sellers. What would you like? What do you have? Anyway, so there's that. Jets fans now. So part of what I love about Twitter is just the chirping back and forth, getting in everyone's face. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. I was reading some Jets fans chirps though, and it's just like I felt bad. I was embarrassed for them, and it just wasn't fun anymore. And I don't know, I guess over the last few years, they weren't doing much chirping at the Manitoba Moose game, so we need to reintroduce the Jets into the chirping crowd. Here are some of the knee-slapping zingers I got last night. I started it off by saying, Jets fans, you've had over a decade to prepare for this, and when the Leafs finally come back to town, you just come back with Leafs suck. One guy named Phil Aubrey, it's so bad he might have been sarcastic, so I'll give him that, just goes, Leafs are a joke. Better? No, Phil, it's not. Kyle Hemingway, 1967. It's good. No, oh, you know what? That one's actually not bad. I see what he was trying to do, because the Leafs last won the cup, the Stanley Cup, the trophy they give out to the best team when they win. It was in 1967 which like it's 2012 now, so it was a long time ago. So they haven't won in a long time, is what he said. I get it now. It's pretty clever. I got to admit, pretty clever. This one's great. It's from North End Dan. Does mom know that you're still up this late? Dad has to work early. Keep it down. Hashtag Leafs suck. Well, no, I'm usually up this late. You know, working at a national TV station. Amanda Leftley. Leafs have sucked the number 4, over a decade. Nuff said. Well, it's just weird because they're ahead of the Jets in the standings. It's just weird. And I said the Leafs making the conference finals is better than having the Manitoba Moose. She goes, we have to revert back to the minors for Leaf successes. Hashtag that's just sad. Whoosh. That one went right over her head. But they do suck, and half a season of decent hockey ain't changing that. That's from THADAWG. That dog. Watch out, we got a badass over here. This one starts with Toronto. It's not the Leafs, it's Toronto, because everyone hates this stupid city. Anyway, you haven't won a cup in decades, and the best you can do is continue to miss the playoffs, ? Do I need to explain why that one's no, I'm getting nauseous. So let me just finish with your chirps stink. The humor value of toe fungus. So I'm going to help you out. Everyone seems to think that Leafs fans are total idiots and everyone from Toronto is an arrogant jerk. So tell you what, Leafs fans, leave a comment in the comment box chirping the Leafs. Like, not ironically by going 1967. I want you to legitimately chirp your own team. That way, next time the Leafs play the Jets, they can reference back to this video and maybe steal some things worth saying. And I say stealing, but you're not really stealing, you're just borrowing them, right? Leafs fans won't mind. Because the Leafs haven't won the cup since before the moon landing, so really what are you gonna say that's gonna hurt their feelings? So answer the poll on stevedangle.com, follow me on Twitter at steve_dangle, like my page on Facebook, Steve Dangle Page, and get to it. What are some of your best Leafs chirps against your own damn team?